That was beautiful as usual. And we have another treat this morning. We have a special speaker, Reverend, I'm so used to saying doctor, being a nurse. Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson is a Renaissance man in many ways and is a lifelong learner. His eclectic academic career and spiritual path have aided him in transforming his own life while also serving as a catalyst to assist others in transforming their lives. Reverend Dr. Anderson is an ordained interfaith, interspiritual, and New Thought minister, a certified holistic life coach, a Reiki master teacher and practitioner, a visual artist and performing artist, a certified teacher of American Sign Language, as well as a freelance American Sign Language interpreter specializing in theatrical and musical interpreting. He is the founder, artistic director, and performing member of Believe, an American Sign Language theatrical performance company, and is both founder and senior minister of the Center for Living the Sacred, Phoenix Fellowship and Institute. As an author, he writes for Examiner.com as the DC New Thought Examiner, and is the author of 2 books, Visual Music, Interpreting Songs in American Sign Language, and Moving Mountains, The Journey of Transformation. He is a professional speaker, facilitator of workshops, classes, and seminars. He's also, when you see how youthful he is, you won't believe he's the father of 4 amazing young men and the grandfather of 2 beautiful grandchildren. He did share with me that his children were adopted, so they're only a few years younger than him. And so now I think you all are in for a real treat. Here is Reverend Dr. Anderson.
It was Sunday morning, and the alarm clock went off. And William Jr. did what William Jr. tended to do, which was roll over and hit the snooze bar. His mother, knowing her son all too well, was already at his bedroom door. "Young man, it is time for you to get up. You're going to church today." "No, I'm not." "What do you mean you're not?" "I've got 3 reasons why I'm not going to church today." "And what are your 3 reasons this week?" "Well, 1, the kids at church don't like me. 2, the choir won't let me sing with them. And 3, after service, there are never any jelly donuts left." Surely his mother, not only being a saint, was an ascended master, because she took a nice inhale. "Mister, I have 3 reasons why I'm not going to church. I have 2 reasons why you are going to church. 1, you're 40 years old. 2, you're the pastor." How often do we wake up on any given day and we don't want to go do what is ours to do? And when I say to do what is ours to do, I don't mean go and make the donuts. I don't mean go and open the bookstore. I don't mean go and start working at the office. I don't mean that stuff. I mean what is yours, ours to do. Now, what is that, you may ask? Well, let me ask you a question. And this is an audience participation question. Think for a moment, if I were to say, what does it mean to be a master? Give me 3 or 4 words that come to mind when you think master. Someone who is a master of something. Your turn. Wise, wisdom, educated, skill. Give me 1 more. Awake and loving. Okay. Name someone, and it's audience participation again. Name someone that comes to mind as a master.
Jesus.
Jesus. Buddha. Two more.
Confucius.
Confucius.
Darla Henry.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Now, oftentimes we forget that those qualities that we identify in another, wisdom, skill, education, knowledge, love, compassion, being awake, are qualities that already exist within us. It's very easy to wake up and roll over into the snooze bar, forgetting that we are the I am. You know, it's very easy to get up and say, oh, my back is hurting. Oh, I have a headache. Oh, I hate my job. And forget that what's ours to do is to bring the light of God, the peace of God, the presence of God into every situation that we enter into. Because everywhere that we walk is hallowed ground. Not because the ground itself is hallowed ground, but it is, but because each of us is walking in that place, we make it so. For example, a couple of friends of mine work at the Capitol, Washington, D.C. And the Dalai Lama comes to the Capitol, or comes to D.C. every year, and he visits the Capitol. And they never tell the employees exactly when His Holiness is going to walk in, because they don't want, all the hoopla. So they just say, he's going to be here today, we'll let you know once he's already here. And my friends have told me that they don't have to announce it, because you could be doing whatever, typing or emails or yelling at someone on the phone about a congressman or something, and all of a sudden a wave of peace sweeps over you. And that whatever aches and pains or worries or fears that you were feeling prior to that wave literally vanish. Why? Is it because that this man is something different than anyone that works there? No. The only thing that's different is the Dalai Lama knows who and what he is. How often do we step into that knowing that we are the I am? Unity principle number 1 says, there is only one power, one presence, God the good. Only one power and one presence. Meister Eckhart said that God is a circle whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere. There is nowhere that God is not. Nowhere. So when we think of what's going on in the Middle East, is God there? Not only is God there, but God is embodied within the people who are doing the things that we don't like them doing. And we forget. It's real easy to forget and blame the mayor, blame the congressman, blame the president, blame our mom, our dad, or whoever for whatever is going on. It's easy. But as a master, is it not our position, our place, our calling to say, they simply don't know. They forgot. They're hitting the snooze bar rather than waking up. So my job is to know for them. My job is to raise in consciousness for them. Because, is that not what Yeshua, is that not what Jesus did? Jesus, look, my daughter, she's dead. Can you please? Where is she at? She's in the room. And Jesus walks in, and then the two of them walk out. She's not dead, she was just asleep. Lazarus, come forth. Do you believe that you'll be able to see? Okay, here's some dirt, saliva, mud, here. Jesus knew for them when they did not know per se for themselves. Except when there was the centurion who came to him and said, I don't need you to come to my house. All I need you to do is, and Jesus said, wow, I haven't seen such faith in, wow, just because you know it is so and you believe it's already done. How often do we allow ourselves to know with that kind of power? If I were to move my hand and let this go, what would happen?
It would drop.
It would drop. Do you believe it or do you know it? You know it. You know it because there's enough evidence that says there's this thing called gravity that Sir Isaac Newton discovered or named or whatever. And yes. But there are other things that you also know as well. If I were to ask you, do you have faith? Because we love to quantify. I don't have enough faith. We love to quantify. There's no such, no. There is no quantifying. Except in linguistic convenience. It is linguistically convenient for us to talk about so much faith versus so much faith. But you already have more than enough. And you may not believe that you do. How many of you have ever been in an airplane? Almost everyone. Do you not think that it takes faith to get in this huge metal tube with wings that leaves the ground long enough to get you from New York City to Tokyo? You're not flying it. You're trusting someone in the cockpit who you can't see, who's also flying based upon what they can't see. They're trusting dials and lights and what's coming through the headset, and people on the ground are directing and they're following directions. If that's not faith, what is? So you already have it. That's a given. The fact that you are already one with, as the divine. Because once again, for linguistic convenience, we say things like praying to God. But if we're praying to God, then that's implying that there is God and us versus just God. Just God showing up as 700 billion people. And that's a difficult concept for some of us. Oh, wait, I see separation. There's this thing called snow, which we're all too familiar with, right? And it is said that each individual snowflake is individual and different from every other snowflake. So if this snowflake looks at this snowflake and says, yeah, but we're different, we're separate. But if they melt, do they not both go back to water? And is not water the scientific compound of H2O? So if God was a chemical formula and God is H2O, God shows up as water in various forms, including snow, which shows up as, I don't even know how many, just one snowfall, how many individual, unique, and different snowflakes come from that one snowfall. And yet their essence is still H2O. Why is it that difficult to believe that we are God? We are the divine. Just as Jesus said, no. Well, first of all, if you see me, you see he who sent me. You see the I am. I am that I am. Why is it so difficult? Is it because we wake up and we have these pains that we forget? Is it because we get into arguments that we forget? Is it because, being a nerd, I love comic books? Is it because, as Peter Parker's uncle told him, Spider-Man, as Peter Parker's uncle told him, with great power comes great responsibility. Or as it said in Scripture, to whom much is given, much is required. Oh, wait a minute, time out. I don't know that I want the responsibility that it's too late. The responsibility is yours because you're here. You're already in form. You're already alive. So you have something that is yours to do. Each and every one of us already is a master. Question is, did you choose to be the master that you are? Or was it by default? Meaning, this gentleman by the name of Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called The Outliers. And in there he says that it takes approximately 10,000 hours to gain mastery or great proficiency of a skill. From the looks of us, everyone in here has passed at least that 10,000 mark at least once. Some of us twice. So, in that amount of time, what have we mastered? I personally, for many years, mastered, and I trust and believe, I was depression. Oh, I got you beat. Oh, you were sad on Monday? I was sad Sunday, Saturday, and Friday. I got you beat. Oh, you thought your life was bad? Look, no. Listen. I was locked up in a mental hospital because they thought I wanted to kill myself. And I was locked up for 9 days. Not 2 days, 9 days. It took me 9 days to convince them that I didn't really want to kill myself. So I got you beat because you only did a weekend. I did a whole weekend. I had that skill down pat. You bring me something positive and I would shoot it down like my name was Jesse James. And it's gone. But I wasn't happy. And I wasn't satisfied. And a little bit of background information. I grew up in a household. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was giving a jump. In a household, I was the youngest of 7 sons. In a household that had alcoholism and drug abuse. One of my older brothers sold drugs, came home one evening, late afternoon, while I was playing with Legos, and had a pillowcase filled with money, dumped it out in front of me on top of my Lego set, demanded that I count it, pulled a gun from his hip, pointed it at my head and said, if you are so much as a dime off, you're dead. I was around 10 or 11 years old. I counted that money at least 4,629 times. I counted because a couple of times, wait a minute, missing a quarter. Wait, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay. I counted it over and over. I sweat. I was terrified. He came back, asked me the amount, pulled the gun out. I gave him the amount. He said, are you sure? I said, yes, and closed my eyes. He took the bag and he walked out. This was normal for the most part. When I was 7, I broke up a fight between my parents. As both of them, my father pulled out a pocket knife and my mother grabbed a butcher knife, and they commenced to wanting to fight. And the 7-year-old little me stood in between the grown folks to stop them. Is it no wonder that somewhere in my life I developed this self-hatred, self-loathing, just life is not fair? And then I realized many years later, there's an amazing secret that we all have access to. If we change our thoughts, our entire life changes. Who would have thunk that something so simple could be so profound? Let me give you an example by way of a Japanese story. This gentleman who happened to be walking down the road saw some samurai fighting down a piece. And he froze as he looked, and the samurai were fighting in swords. And one samurai defeated the others and turned and saw the old man standing there looking on terrified. And the samurai spotted a sword on the man's hip. But he's no samurai. So the samurai draws his sword and approaches him and says, it is disgraceful for you to have a sword when you are not a samurai. Tomorrow morning at sunrise, I will kill you. He resheaths his sword and he leaves. The older man, terrified now, wanders around the rest of the day, worried, what am I going to do? I have approximately 10 hours left before the samurai finds me and kills me. He decides that he's going to make his final meal and go to sleep and face what he must face. Somewhere in the middle of the night, an elbow hits him in the jaw. And he jumps up and sees another man laying on his cot beside him. He takes a stick and he pokes him. The man wakes up, jumps up, and draws his sword. The old man drops and says, I'm sorry, please forgive me. You were on my cot. And the man says, oh, please forgive me. Resheaths his sword and says, apparently I've had too much sake, because last night while drinking I saw your fire, smelled the food, thought it would be delicious, came over and had some, and apparently had fallen asleep. Please forgive me. The old man says, whoa, time out, time out. Apparently, you're a sword master? Yes, I am. Please teach me the way of the sword, because the samurai said that come sunrise he would find me and kill me. Teach me how to fight, how to defend myself against him. And the samurai says, no. And the old man says, wait a minute. And he grabs the sword and he presents it to him. I will give you this. It was ivory wrapped with gold thread. And the sword master says, that's an imperial sword. Where did you get an imperial sword? The emperor gave it to me. What could you possibly offer the emperor that he would give you his imperial sword? I make tea. So you're the tea master? Yes, I am the tea master. Then I will teach you the way of the sword, but first you must make me tea. So the tea master grabs his utensils and his tea, and he sits. And he breathes. And he dumps tea and pours water, and he stirs, and he breathes. And he stirs, and he breathes, and he presents. And the sword master drinks. You truly are the tea master. So you will teach me the way of the sword? No. But simply meet the samurai and make tea for him. And the sword master walks away. It's now sunrise. The tea master is there on the road waiting. The samurai approaches. Sword drawn. The tea master kneels before the imperial sword. And he breathes. And he raises the sword. And he breathes. And the samurai approaches, but he hesitates. He unsheaths the sword. The samurai flinches for a moment. And he breathes. And he takes the blade out and he raises it up. And he closes his eyes and breathes. And the samurai resheaths his sword and says, forgive me. I did not realize who and what you were. Forgive. And he walks away. The relevance. The tea master did not realize that simply he who has attained mastery of an art will reveal it in his every action. If you are the I am, then you have the ability to speak a thing that is not as though it were, and make it so. Or how else would Myrtle Fillmore have healed herself from tuberculosis? Why would Myrtle say, never speak into existence, never talk about something that you do not want to see show up in your life? Our words come from our thoughts. If we are thinking pain, misery, illness, disease, heartache, depression, if that's what's going through our mind, then clearly that's what we're going to speak. And if that's what we speak, then that's how we're going to move throughout the world as someone who believes in separation. As someone who believes in the power of pain over, in disease over, rather than flipping and saying, I understand that there is this illusion, there is this thing called body. But behind that, there is a spirit that cannot be sick. God can't be sick. God can't have a disease. And neither can I. The true essence of who and what I am cannot either. You know a gentleman by the name of Viktor Frankl? You know that name? Wrote an amazing book called Man's Search for Meaning. Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was in Hitler's Germany. And at some point, after seeing what the Nazis were doing to his friends and family, he said, I'm not the prisoner. The Nazis are. They can't touch me. They can do stuff to this thing. But that's not me. That's not the highest of who and what I am. And when he had that realization that the Nazis could not touch him, they could damage his body, but they could not touch him. He had this realization that there is something greater than I am. No matter what is going on in our lives, when we elevate our consciousness and align with the knowing that we are masters, knowing that everything that every Unity minister, every Emma Curtis, Hawkins, all of these people who have handed down their teachings, when we step into that alignment, knowing they did it, they wrote about it, they put it to practice. And when we do it as well, then we see demonstration, we see manifestation, we see our lives shift and turn. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, you cannot cast out darkness with darkness. You cannot cast out hate with hate. You can only cast out hate with love. You can only cast out darkness with light. When each of us steps into that knowing of who and what we are, the only thing that radiates from us is love. The only thing that radiates from us is light. We stop hitting the snooze bar. We have the ability to transform not just what's going on in our lives, but the lives of our family, our community, our city, our states, our country, the planet. Because if we don't believe that it's possible, then it's not. If we don't believe that peace is more powerful than war, then it's not. We have to say, I understand that it is a fact that this is happening, but the truth is, peace is the only thing that is present. They don't remember that. What did we hear today in the Daily Word? That which is already, the sunflower exists within the seed, and it blooms. God is present in, as, through, and throughout us when we do the work to let ourselves bloom. And so it is. Ready to meditate? So, get comfortable. Center yourself and breathe. Remembering that, as it says in Genesis, God breathed Ruach, the holy breath of the divine, and made Adam a living soul. As we connect to our breath, mindfully, consciously, we remember that we are not breathing, but we are being breathed. Source, God, love itself, chose to show up as each and every one of us. We are the masters that we seek. Everything that is of God is already encapsulated, encased within the seed of our being. Because if God is loving, then so are we. But even beyond that, we must realize that God is not loving, but God is love itself. God is beauty itself. God is goodness itself. Health, well-being, power, prosperity, joy beyond measure. And if it is true of God, then it must be true of us as well. So as you breathe, be ever present, ever conscious, ever mindful that wherever you go, God is. The light of God surrounds me. I am the light of God. All that God is, the power, the presence, the peace, it's who and what I am. It's who and what each and every one of us. It's the truth of our being. Yod-He, Vav-He. I am that. I am. Peace. I am that. I am. Health and wholeness. I am that. I am. Love and joy. Community. I am that. I am. And everywhere I go, affirming this for yourself, everywhere I go, I take this knowing with me, so that everyone who I see and everyone who sees me sees the face of God. Everyone whom I hear and everyone who hears me hears the voice of God. Everyone whom I touch and everyone who touches me feels the touch of God. Mindfully, consciously, breathing this knowing, remaining as awake as possible in each moment. Everything is perfect, divine right order. I am right where I am supposed to be, doing what is mine to do. I am a master. I am that. I am. Christ consciousness illuminates in, as, and through me, and throughout all of existence. I align thought, word, and deed, remembering I have much to be happy for. Remembering that if your only prayer were thank you, then thank you would be enough.